Welcome, guys, to the desk. It's going to be myself, Rob, Ghostly Dreams Price. Mitch Mann is going to be joining me as well. And we've got a very special guest in Rob the Bear. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the Overwatch final we have coming up at Dublin Games Festival this Saturday. And I think at least two of us are very excited.
I don't know about
he's
him.
a bit of a salty prick. But yeah, I mean, it's been great. I think both teams, Nightricky NSG and Hybrid UK, have been absolutely stellar performers. So I'm really looking to see how they end up matching up in that best of 5 series.
Well, that's exactly it. Look, we're going to see a lot from these teams, maybe outside of their comfort zone. A lot of them have been sticking to the same kind of, same style of maps. You know, we've seen a lot of that Lijiang Tower come out.
Have you seen anything except Lijiang Tower?
I think I might have seen one or two other maps, but that's pretty much it. That's the vast majority. And so coming into the as best of 5 series where they do have to play at least 2 other maps outside of that Lijiang, it's going to be interesting to see what goes down and what approaches these teams come at us with. I think there's going to be a lot of variation on the strategies that we've seen run so far, or rather the strategy we've seen run, which has pretty much just been goats, but there have been some minor variations here and there along the way.
Yeah, and I think Hybrid have been the ones that stick mostly to that goats composition. I mean, I think, so I was watching back over a few of the games, try and get myself into my right headset for it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a goats composition. That's a goats composition. Yeah. And then it goes like, oh, there's one game where they don't, no, they swapped over to it. Yeah, they're back over to it. So I think these guys really have been just sticking to the game plan. Yeah. And I think it means they're a little bit easy to read, especially for a team like Nightricky NSG, who've just been very flexible with their picks. We've seen, the Pharah style come out on that Lijiang Tower. We've seen them play Goats. We've seen them play Bastion on the statue, which is a new one for me.
I think that was one we shouldn't really bring up again. That was a little bit confusing. But we've also seen them take out Doomfists. They've got Hanzos in the bank. They're comfortable flexing whatever they need to. Flexing.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
But ultimately it has been that Pharah play, I think, that was the most convincing. That Pharah Mercy combination, we've not really seen anybody do it as well as the likes of FlexG. It was just complete dominance in that map over on Lijiang that we saw him play there in the last week.
Yeah, and even the way the team plays around it as well. I mean, it's not only the FlexG is able to hit those shots consistently, it's that the team opens up, especially against the GOATS composition. You've got multiple different flankers that are coming in. They are spreading out that GOATS composition, which makes it so easy for FlexG on that Pharah to avoid the likes of the Diva. And we've even seen them run the Sombra, so you get that EMP in the mix as well, which means there's no defense matrix when that barrage comes out. And it's just been nigh on unstoppable in a lot of these situations.
And look, that's one of the things as well. When you're rocking up a Pharah against the GOATS composition, there's not really a whole lot you can do if there's a Mercy there to back her up. You really have to be targeting her, and it's where something like those the Dotes comes into it a little bit more with the Winston. He can also jump up and get a little bit more damage in, but it is just really hard to counter that Pharah Mercy combination in general. We're seeing it come out a little bit more over here in the DGF qualifiers, and now as we go into the final event, I imagine we're going to see quite a bit more.
I like the way nobody knows what to call that composition, because I've heard of Dotes now. I've seen Monkey 3-3 or Monkey Goats.
Yeah, there's lots of different names for it. Yeah, the guys were giving me like a rundown on all the different names. I know there's Dotes is the one that's like stuck in my head. The other ones I can't remember, but there were at least 4 more that are regularly used. So. But it is a powerful composition. We're seeing it come out quite a lot across Overwatch in general right now, alongside Goats as well, which is of course here to stay for the time being anyways.
Yeah, it's been coming out a lot in like contenders and stuff like that, and I think it's going to be interesting to see, because I mean, the teams have had a little bit of time. We've taken the week off, so it's not like you're running into this and you haven't had a chance to try and innovate at least a little bit. So I think particularly when you're looking at Nightricky NSG, these guys have been absolutely stellar at picking up these new picks and bringing something new to the table. And I want to see the same coming out from Hybrid. I don't want to see them just sticking to, even if it is like the Winston variation. I mean, get away from the Goats. I want to see what you can do on the likes of a Widowmaker or Hanzo or these hit scan champions and really make the difference.
Yeah, well, if they're rocking out something like a Widow and an Ana straight away, that pretty much disqualifies the Pharah Mercy play from really coming in. And that's been one of the pivotal kind of plays that we've seen the old Craggy Islanders at Ricky NSG now pull out pretty consistently. But thing is, they are comfortable with flexing over. They're comfortable. We saw them in a skirmish before DGF even started with a little bit of a different lineup. They were rocking the goats with May in there instead. And it's all these different combinations that they go for. That's what really it's their versatility that makes them a formidable opponent. And these are the two teams I'm really looking forward to. I was really hoping we'd see these two teams clash heads. Because I think, especially like you said, with that 1 week gap that they've got in the mix, it allows them a lot of time to really sit back and think, okay, what's worked well? They're going to be looking over demos of the games that we've, of course, commentated. We've had them all on stream. So they've got those videos there that are available for them to see how the opponents are approaching different maps, how they're approaching different setups, and figure out how they can counter them, and then mess around in scrims, trying over different compositions and just seeing what works. I think we're going to see a much different two teams, hopefully.
Yeah, and I would 100% agree, and I think that's why we're kind of bringing up that variation, is that I feel, in particular, hybrid, they've shown their hand with the 3-3, but they haven't really shown anything else. Now, they've definitely been tested, but I think they still got a few picks in the back pocket. They haven't, like, even in the semi-finals, they had that 3-0 sweep, so they're not like, okay, we've got to show everything that we have. This money's on the table right now. So I think they've got a little bit to mess around with, and I think it's the same with Ricky NSG. These guys have just looked so insurmountable for a large portion of these qualifiers. Now I want to see what happens when these two go up against each other, because I was not stalking, I was researching Andy on Twitter. And I came prepared because I had this little I went through his Twitter likes and I found this little piece where he was looking at the Chinese contenders and he's asking for a VOD. Now I don't think we're going to see this because it's probably a little bit too difficult to, well, not difficult to pull off, but it's very different stuff. It's actually 4 DPS, a support, and then a wrecking ball in the mix. So he had Pharah, Doomfist, Hanzo, and Widow were the 4 that he'd gone for. See, I'm very professional with my notes. Get out of me. But it was very, it's going to be an interesting one. So I like that he's reaching out for VODs. I like that he's going with a very different, like, okay, we want to have a lot of different options here. We don't want to be stuck with just, 1 to 2 to 3 compositions. We want to have a mass of different options we can go for.
Yeah, well, look, it's not that surprising to see Andy doing that background research. He's one of the players that has been pivotal to the Irish scene recently in building it. Definitely one of the most helpful from what I've had in terms of background research since I've joined the community even. And so, that's going to be interesting. I really would be surprised in the final if they pull that out. I'd like to see it.
No, look, all my research has to go somewhere, right? You just have to put it just for me, Andy. Cheers, thanks. But, I do agree. I think it's going to be a little bit tough to go with something so different, but I just wanted to show that it is a case of these guys are looking to do a lot of different things, and particularly when it's all on the line here to play for on Saturday. I think it is something that you really do have to look and go, okay, what's the pick in our back pocket? What is that special something, that special sauce we can bring out at the last moment to really clutch it?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing he could always go for, is just pull out that pick, and then if it doesn't go well, he can just say he lost because of you. Yeah,
true. I'm fine with that. Many teams have lost because of me, whether I'm on them or not. But I think it is going to be fantastic to see. I really want to see certain members as well step up. I mean, we already kind of highlighted FlexG. I think you highlighted Andy as well, has been very, very good. And as we were saying, this is a guy who's been pivotal to the Irish scene. When you look at, organising the high-level Discord as well, he's organising the cast and the pugs. He was one of the key linchpins when trying to organise the Ireland to get into the World Cup. So this guy has just been formidable in his presence in the Irish Overwatch scene. So it's nice now to see him on the stage rather than the one just talking about the game instead.
Well, that's it. I think as well, the one thing that you can say, Andy of course plays Diva regularly, so I think they're probably going to be spending this week looking to see how they can kind of get more out of those self-destructs. We've seen maybe a couple of times that those self-destructs have just gone into shields, especially with something like the Dotes coming out. That Winston can be very effective at containing that when it goes through and shielding off his teammates. Although a shield doesn't protect you from a lot of damage, it'll take that one hit of the self-destruct and
exactly
shut it down. So I think ultimately, it's going to be the ultimate economy that wins out either of these two teams, because if you look at just in general how close they've been, or how one-sided most of their games have been against similar teams, we've seen similar performances from them. So realistically, it is going to be that ultimate economy. But one thing I can say is that we've seen Flex G, of course, having a really nice control over that, whether, like you highlighted earlier, whether it's being the Somber coming in with the EMPs to allow Flex G to then go in with the barrage and just destroy everybody, no shields or defense matrices to be seen.
This guy knows English.
Hell yeah. But it's that kind of interesting sort of mid-game play that we're going to see coming out, where it's all just going to come down to who does the right thing at the right time, I feel like a lot of the time. I don't think this is going to be a 3-0 series, and I'm definitely hoping it isn't. I think we can see it go all the way, go the distance.
And I think when you're kind of looking at that, how they use their ults and working together to make sure you get the biggest impact. I think that's something Hybrid have been doing excellently. I mean, the amount of times you've seen like the Graviton go through with the self-destruct and suddenly there's a Reinhardt flying through to grab the other Reinhardt and just take that big shield out of the mix. It's been really working for them, and it has been those big moments that have clutched out in several games for them. I mean, we even saw them against Mutiny in times where it was just these brilliant coordinated play that managed to get them across the finish line.
Yeah, even if that came down to as well, but even without the Graviton Surge and the Ryan, they also had a strategy there where the Brigida would go in and get a stun on the Ryan, so the shield dropped just before the self-destruct bloomed, and that took down a couple of players. So they've been good on their stuns, their coordination has been there, and that's a situation for both teams, really. I think certainly on the Craggy Islanders side, or Nuriki.nsg, their new name, it's going to be the Pharah, really. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm thinking. These guys are going to be dealing out that damage, and maybe Hybrid won't be able to do anything about it if they do rock that GOAT setup. And that's why I really think it's important that they spend this week, and I'm sure they are spending this week, learning about their opponents and exactly what kind of counters are going to work for them against that kind of style. And
that's the thing, is that I think you've got, it's kind of in, I don't know whether it's easier or harder for the side of Nyriki NSG to try and scout out Hybrid, because we've kind of seen a very one-sided, we're harping on about this, but it makes sense because you've only got that one composition really that we've seen them play. Yeah. So you got to pose the question then, is that just the one style they can play? Is that all they have in their wheelhouse? Or is it a case of they just don't need to do anything else? They're just, it's like the UK in the Overwatch World Cup. We're just well drilled on GOATs. We're going to beat everyone with GOATs, and no matter what you do, we're just going to beat you on GOATs. Well, that's it. And that's the thing,
If the coordination is there, if you're using your ultimates effectively together, like we highlighted earlier there, with the self-destructs and then charging in, using Brigida there to get those stuns in, that's something that we've seen them do consistently very, very well to eliminate the shields and make sure that they get the most out of their ultimates. And when you're doing that, GOATs is a setup that really allows that to thrive. You know, you have the ultimates that can keep your players alive, and you have the ones that can deal out the massive damage, and ultimately that's all you need, is to keep them alive while they're building those charging ultimates, and then use your charging ultimate to push the other team back and fly on through. And so it is going to be a difficult one, I think. Certainly the biggest task that Nyriki.nsg have faced so far. But again, I think this is going to go the distance. I don't think it's going to be a one-sided game for either team. But ultimately, I think, for me personally, I'm kind of favouring Nyriki.nsg going into it, just because of the versatility they've shown so far. And there is that thing that if Hybrid do get countered hard, we don't really know what they're going to pull out, what their backup plan is, because we haven't had to see it so far.
And that's the thing as well. And I do have faith in them. I do believe that there is something else that they have there. Even with even if you're looking at GOATs in general, I mean, even the variation that we haven't seen come out of them, even swapping like Zenyatta to Ana to Moira, you've got that trifecta of supports that you can start to look at. Now you've got the Winston mix in there as well, where you've got that dive and the 3-3. So I think we will start to see different stuff come out, and then that will start to slowly lead its way into, okay, cool, well then if we've got this Winston dive in the background, well, how do we try and deal with that? So I think you've got to be flexible in that respect.
Absolutely.
I think it is just, I'm kind of leaning with Nyriki as well, just because we've seen more out of them. We know what they're capable of on these other strategies, and don't get me wrong, Hybrid is looking like a well-oiled machine when they do play to their style, but I just want to see what happens when they're off kilter a little bit. What happens when you're not able to play to your style?
Yeah, when they're pushed out of their comfort zone, how are they going to react? And that's the thing, that we can't really side with Hybrid because we don't know how they're going to react. And it could be a positive way. They could have something massive in the back pocket that's going to destroy Nyriki.nsg. And on the other hand, they could have nothing. You never know. And that's ultimately one of the problems of coming into this for us, really, in pulling out a decent prediction. But yeah, like we said, I think the safest bet is that it's going to go all the way. It's going to be a close series, and I'm really looking forward to getting our teeth into that.
If it does go all the way, what map are you looking forward to the most?
Nepal.
Nepal? Just
Nepal, yeah.
Jesus, you didn't even have to think.
I like Nepal. It's a good map. I know both teams are going to be pretty strong on there. Goats composition is going to be nice, but you're going to see a lot of variation with the likes of an Orisa come out, maybe a Roadhog to try and pull players off the map, and that's what I really want to see. Those maps that have those kill zones that kind of force you into playing a different composition. Not necessarily force. You can obviously see goats come out or dotes as well, but you do like to see the likes of an Orisa, especially on the inner point with the little hole down the side. You see a Roadhog going up on the little high ground and pulling people off. You're going to see the Lucios there, even if it's base goats, being able to do some decent damage. And those are always the interesting ones to see how teams are able to combine all the different styles of those 3 points together. You can't really run one composition for all three, or you shouldn't.
Yeah. I think I'm looking forward to Junkertown. I really want to see Junkertown because I love the variations you can get with the opening of Junkertown, where you can have, like, if you're on defense, we've seen like a Symmetra to put the Team Canada ran it, where you Symmetra to Bastion with the teleporter is now on top of the roof, and then he's looking down, and you've got like just a line of sight across there. Or you can see like even the May on the offensive side. I just want to see some of these funky picks come in and see how some of the teams maybe adapt on the fly, or if they have these strange openings that you can do on that map. And I think it'd be really cool because a lot of plays on Junkertown are trying to delay that initial opening, just camp the spawn, try and stop them from getting out. See if you can delay 30 to 40 to 50, even up to 70 seconds if you can really get away with it. And I think it's that back and forth is going to be so interesting to watch, particularly against two teams of this caliber.
Yeah, most certainly. I would agree with you there. It's the likes of those escort maps that are going to be really interesting, especially because, I mean, you look at the qualifiers, you look at the skirmishes, that's the map we don't play, the style of map we don't play, because it's so prone to having those overtimes come out. And then overtimes again, and it is just a very meaty kind of map that most teams will be able to get to the end if it's a close game. And that's really what I'm looking forward to, is seeing those high octane, really intense maps. And Junkertown's a great one. Yeah,
and I think if we end up leaving this weekend with voices, we've done a disservice, because I think overall this is just going to be an absolutely stellar performance from both of these teams.
For sure.
And it really does come down to who shows up in the day. Because don't forget, obviously we are live in the RDS in the main hall, so this is going to be a case like you've got the crowd, you've got a lot of people. It's one thing playing at home, but when you do feel that energy from the crowd, that is a different beast altogether. And I want to see how these guys end up faring up in that situation. I don't know how many of these have been in a situation like that before. I don't feel like it's a huge amount of them. Overwatch, obviously, a little bit of a younger esport when it comes to the Irish scene, but it's going to be very interesting to see. And it works two ways, which I always love seeing. It's like there's the guys who just feed on that energy and just blow your mind with the plays they're able to pull off, whereas other guys start to play a little bit safer. And if you have some of these big carries on these teams who then start to play a little bit safer, how does that whole dynamic work then, especially in a game where like Overwatch, where you're relying so heavily on your teammates and that communication, and you kind of come to expect a certain play style out of your teammates. Something like that can really throw a wrench into the works.
Yeah, most certainly. It really can. If somebody's lagging behind and you're used to them kind of being that pivotal player, it can be pretty difficult to kind of come up with that fix on the spot, because you kind of got to count them out at that point if they've got the jitters. And yeah, like you said, it's going to be RDS, it's going to be a big crowd, and it's going to be really fun for us anyways to commentate and for you guys at home to watch, so make sure you tune into that.
Yeah, and definitely come up and say hi as well, by the way. Just not in the middle of the broadcast, probably not the best
time. I guess a little bit of a break then. But
we just pass the mic over, be like, hey mom. But I think it's going to be stellar. To actually, as well, I love these lands because you get to put the faces to the names, just so you get to meet a bunch of people, get involved. So if you are thinking of coming to the Dublin Games Festival, 100% get involved. Huge amounts of events on the day as well. So I think
and we got Rocket League, we got CS, Overwatch.
There's a Mario Kart race, like a racing course with the remote control Mario Kart, and I'm like, the second I'm finished casting, I am just taking that thing. No, see, the thing is, then you're gonna have bragging rights over me, because I know I'm going to be terrible at this thing. I just want to play it and then just be like, no one else touch it, okay?
Take all the controls, just.
I'm gonna just destroy yours. I'm gonna like tinker with yours beforehand. It's like left is now right.
That good competitive spirit.
Exactly.
That's what we want to be setting the tone.
This is why every team I'm on loses.
There you go. They have to forfeit because of tampering.
But guys, we do hope to see you at the Dublin Games Festival on Saturday. Please do join in, and if you're not able to make it for whatever reason, do catch us online as well. We will be on Twitch, so we hope to see you there. If not, well, you should be anyway.